Hey, welcome back to the next episode of Inside Corner. I guess I shouldn't assume you know who I am. My name is Evan Altman. The proprietor, I guess, if you will, of CubsInsider.com, the 67th most popular Cubs blog on the interwebs. And this, Inside Corner, is my new video log, or vlog, as the kids call them, which I think made it all the way on up into the top 250,000 last week. I think like 20 people viewed it, which is pretty cool. I apologize in advance for any interruptions. I have a couple cats down here with me tonight. And so tonight, my beverage of choice. So this is really cool, right? There's this service, I think it's pronounced Tavour. It's Tavour. And it's this online, it's an app, right? And you go on there and they give you these beers that generally don't distribute. I'm in Indiana, so distribution is somewhat scarce, but a lot of stuff from the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, even some collabos with Brooklyn, whatnot. But this one is from El Segundo, which reminds me of the song "Ghetto Bird" by Ice Cube, because he hit a left on El Segundo. But this is Blurred Lines Hybrid IPA. It's 7.7 ABV, and the description here, I don't have all my lights on, so it might be a little bit difficult to make that out. But it says, lying somewhere between a clear West Coast IPA and a Northeast hazy juice bomb, big mosaic and citra hops are complemented by lemon zest and pine undertones from Centennial hops. Then heavy doses of oat and wheat malt fermented with California ale yeast, leave this beer a bit blurry about its identity. Is it a real style? Nah, but do you care? I don't know, we may not. It says smell, drink, repeat. So let's check that out and see how it works. And today I am going with my thrift store Cubs mug, which, as you will notice, is more than capable of handling an entire pint. I had my throwback Cubs glass the last time. That one is barely suitable for a 12-ounce beverage that has a little bit of head, because he doesn't like a little head. But this one will more suitably handle. So, again, as you can see, maybe a little bit on the hazy side. It's actually clearly a little bit more unfiltered. You can kind of see that stuff dancing around in there a little bit. Said there was mosaic in there, right? Oh, yeah. You can definitely tell mosaic. Those of you cat owners out there may recognize the scent. Some people have related it to cat piss, which is what you always want in a beer, right? Who doesn't want to drink a little bit of cat piss? Which reminds me of, I think it was the Saturday Night Live skit. This is back in the day, right? The Kevin Nealon days. Something smelled good in Stinkville. Remember that? It was like, what the line was something like, "Honey, bring me the cat's ass." So, anyway, well, let's try it. Super smooth. This is really good. Highly recommended. But next to me is a big giant box of beer. So I had, I think I got them on, this is Thursday. I got it on Tuesday. 47-pound box. Always nice to have that delivered to work. And, but you got to have somebody sign for it. And I didn't think my children would be able to. So a ton of different stuff in there. I won't tell you how much I spent, but a lot of really cool stuff. So you can buy them, like a lot of times the cans will be sold in 2-packs. There's several bombers that I got in there. I got a 4-pack of Fruit Stripe beer, if you remember the Fruit Stripe gum. So anyway, kind of nice, and stops me from going to the liquor store for a little while. So the only thing about it, I mean, you can buy them a lot of times in larger quantities, but and I got some barrel-aged stuff down there too, a couple new ones that I added to my collection. I'm pointing down there as if you can see it. Nobody's tracking the camera, so that doesn't really make any sense. Anyway, let's get to it. I want to keep this one a little bit shorter. As you can see, the Everybody In t-shirt, it was very nice of the Cubs to stick with the Everybody In theme, so these maybe play a little bit longer. Not that we've sold one lately. After our initial site got shut down, so I still merit that someone from the Cubs actually saw the shirt that I was wearing at Cubs Convention and looked it up and shot us down, but that's neither here nor there. I do want to point out over my right shoulder, right, I'm looking in my TV to check, but yes, the Hex Head Art Cubs sign. I know it's hard to see there, but I pimp that stuff online all the time. So if you follow me on Twitter or Facebook, you've probably seen it. I believe they are in the works of a new design, a new Cubs design, to add to the 3 they have. I will spill no more on that front. We'll just have to wait for that, because I don't know how long it'll take. But while I'm at it, might as well push some other stuff that I've done. So on my podcast that I have, Deep Like Leviathan, thus named for a song lyric by Inspector Deck. It was actually his first solo effort on a song called Let Me At Them, which is weird because he doesn't actually say them, so it should be just Let Me At Them, but that's fine. It's on the Tales from the Hood soundtrack, and there's a line in there that says, my technique of speech is deep like Leviathan, which is not was it Hobbes? Did Hobbes write Leviathan? I think so. Maybe I'm either way, which is a book on, like, again, social treatise and things like that, social contracts and all this philosophical stuff. And there's the Leviathan is an undersea beast, which also then gave its name to the 80s horror film, I think starring Peter Weller. And so I'm pretty sure the Rebel INS was talking about the movie, but maybe not, because it's... Anyway, beside the point, that's the name of my podcast. And on that podcast, I recently had Purdue men's basketball coach Matt Painter, who happens to be a big Cubs fan. And as I explained on the pod, and it's in the post, so the easiest way to find it, you can go on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and the pod is available there with other episodes. And I'm trying to remember one of them. I've had some movie reviews on there. The one previous to this was The Legend of Shrimp Dick. So really classy, high quality, like only it's basically like 60 minutes, except in a podcast form, because, you can imagine one of the folks from 60 Minutes regaling you with a story about a guy named Shrimp Dick. So, or who was nicknamed that by the other people who then got in a food fight in West Hollywood, which is really fun. Anyway, so the podcast is actually embedded in a player on the site. So I did the interview, and this came about. I was listening to local radio. I'm here in Indianapolis, and I heard a guy on the radio talking about the Cubs. And if you hear that, I don't know if this directional mic picks up any of that, but the cats are running around in the box, so they may jump up here. Don't be alarmed. They are not feral. I am in no danger. And so I'm listening to radio and hear this guy talk about the Cubs. And my first thought was to be a little bit, I don't want to say pissed off, but a little bit disappointed. I know the guys who host the show, and I don't want to put them in the predicament of calling them friends, because I don't want to put that on them. Most people don't want to admit that they are friends with me, but they've had me on a few times on the occasions at which they feel the need to talk about the Cubs, which here in Indianapolis, baseball is not a major topic. It's mostly going to be, the Colts releasing their schedule, clearly a bigger deal. Although they did have a Cubs question the other day. Anyway, so here's this guy talking about the Cubs. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Dude's poaching my turf. They're asking somebody else out other than me. I'm not pretty enough anymore. What's going on? And so, come to find out, it was Matt Painter, who at the time was prepping for a tournament run. I think they were at practice or was after practice for the tournament. They were in the NCAA tournament, and he's talking about the Cubs spring training box scores. Well, he's just a huge Cubs fan. He loves the team. He likes to. That's like his escape. Like he told me, other guys play 18 holes of golf. He just likes listening to the Cubs and watching the Cubs. And so I reached out to their SID, and I was like, hey, I know things are busy right now. I know Coach is tied up with stuff, but once the season ends, he's got some more time. I'd really like to get him on my podcast and just do an interview and put that up as a post on the site. And so time went by, and I let the season play out. I know they ended it not how they would have liked, just missed out on the Final Four by a last-second basket. And so I reached back out again after their banquet, and you got the response back. The coach was like, "Hell yes, finally a request I want to do." And it was great. Got a chance to talk with him, brought 30 minutes and caught up. And there's kind of that 6 degrees of separation thing, and he grew up in Indiana his whole life, and coached at a couple schools in Illinois, and obviously lives in Indiana now. And so had just a lot of connections in there. So that was kind of fun to start off on that foot and to just get into it and kind of relate the Cubs to his coaching experience and kind of some of the Purdue players and sort of go through all that. So if you get the chance, just check it out. You can go to Cubs Insider, and it's on there. It's been pushed down because we've been just an absolute content mill lately. We got a lot of people going for us and just a lot of stuff going out. So Or, again, you can go on iTunes, you can search Deep Like Leviathan, leave a 5-star review. I know that's like asking a lot because I don't know that it's actually a 5-star worthy podcast. Otherwise, I produce it and do everything myself, which is probably not a great idea because it took me, I don't know how long, it took me like 3 hours to figure out how to time shift stuff so I could actually lay different tracks in the thing. But I did figure it out. So that's cool. So all I really want to get to today, actually I want to drink a little bit more beer first. I do want to get to a couple little things. So Jed Hoyer talked today. I'm recording this Thursday. I'll probably have it out Thursday night. It's a Cubs off day. And Hoyer hit on a bunch of different things, right? The Cubs are looking for a backup catcher, perhaps, veteran depth. Just how the pitching staff's doing, how the bullpen specifically is doing, John Lester, when he'll be back, when Brandon Morrow will be back. But each of the topics was like a really quick hit. Like he was on and he was just hitting everything. He was on with Mully and Haw. I'm not going to go on a tangent. I was going to say one of the connections I had to Painter involved David Haw in an ancillary way, but we'll leave that for another time. So then he gets into Addison Russell. This is Jed Hoyer. He said, he's been very compliant, which, again, the connotations of that are a little bit weird for me, like compliant, right? It's like that says to me that something is being forced on you, and you are going along with it against your wishes. Again, semantics, maybe I'm taking that too far. But that he's done everything they've asked of him and more, and he's down at extended spring training, and so he was set to come off May 2nd, but because of the rain out or the snow out, it's pushed back to May 3rd. He can join the club for a rehab assignment a week ahead of that, which would be, again, most likely Iowa, right? They're not going to put him down in Tennessee and push Nico Horner around. They'll have him in Iowa. And so that begs a lot of questions, right? Because, Joe Madden had said earlier when he comes back, he'll be the shortstop. But then you think, okay, well, what happens when he comes back? If they put him on the 25-man roster, who goes down? It's almost certain to be Mark Zagunis, who is really the odd man out in that outfield rotation. And, he's had a couple nice little hits here and there, but he would seem most likely to go. But if you do that, Russell's the shortstop. Now you move Javi Baez back over to second. Well, both of those guys pretty much need to play every day. Javi needs to play much more so than Russell. But if you put that configuration in there, you leave very little room for David Bodie, who's been hitting really well. You leave no room for Daniel Descalso, who's again, limited to like second and third. You'll leave less room for Ben Zobrist, who can definitely play the corners, but needs some time at second base. So now you're left with, okay, well, now you push Chris Bryant out to one of the corners more frequently, maybe even center field. And we saw that with the Marlins. He started 2 games and left. So possible preamble there. But even then, you're only freeing up that one spot where really Bodie would play. Descalso can go over there and play a little bit, but then you're talking about just one guy at a time rotating through that. And you've also kind of changed around your outfield depth versus your infield depth. So that's that. Somebody's also got to get bumped off the 40-man. Right, because right now Russell's on the inactive list or the suspended list or whatever. So somebody's got to get, which is not that big a deal. Like the 40-man roster, there's definitely guys who can go around. You can DFA somebody and move things around. But then that begs the question: so, does Russell come back right away? Does he play just a week in Iowa and then come up? And Hoyer didn't say anything about that, right? He just said we're playing it. We're going on a week by week basis, and we're monitoring the situation. It's conditional. It's very conditional. So what does that mean? Is that strictly on his behavior? Is that strictly on his play on the field? And really, we have to think it's the latter at this point, because I think even someone who's effed up as badly as Russell has over the course of his last several years, and certainly with domestic violence issues, is that cleared up? How would they even know? And what have you? But you have to think a lot of it's his play on the field. But what does he have to do, and can he do enough with his play on the field to merit a spot? And he's an elite defensive shortstop, right? That we cannot deny. And so that's really what you're looking at. But at the same time, the offense that we've seen from him is not enough to merit that spot given the other guys who are there. Javier Baez can play elite defense at shortstop. David Bodie is an elite defensive player, certainly at second base. And so you've got enough there. How do you move that around? And then you justify somebody else coming down. You change your outfield depth. So there's a lot to play here. But I think what's really interesting, right, and I think we've seen this, like the Cubs have absolutely caped for Russell ever since they extended him the offer. They tendered him a contract and gave him that deal through arbitration or pre-arbitration, because again, they tendered him. They didn't go to arbitration. But my issue with it, so this has evolved over time, right? My first thought was fire this guy into the sun. And that's really, again, a few folks out there have said, put him in a trebuchet, right? Fire him over the wall, whatever you need to do. Totally get it, right? He's done some very despicable things, and there's no doubting. Some people do doubt that, but he has. Come on. You're kidding yourself if you think otherwise. This isn't about redemption. This isn't about a second chance. It was not a mistake. It's not a youthful indiscretion, right? A youthful indiscretion is, you get drunk at a party and you go piss in somebody's yard, and you get caught, right? That it's not tackling your wife on the sidewalk, okay? It's not choking your wife. Those are not mistakes. They are mistakes, but those are not just slip ups that, oh, I'm young, I don't know any better. Like, come on, let's give me a break. And then you have his the Trojan horse was not as wooden as the apology that he offered when he was in spring training. It was the most scripted. I don't want to say it was hurtful to watch, but I wasn't disgusted. I was disappointed. And I get it, right? He's not a public speaker. Not all of us are. I'm maybe like middling to mediocre. But dude, like, give a real answer. It was like 4 answers that he gave. It was super fake. But what really bothered me was that Joe Madden afterwards was like, oh, I felt so bad for him. I wanted to give him a big hug. That had to have been the hardest thing he ever. Come the hell on, Joe. And then, like, the next day, Julian Green, the Cubs, what is he, the VP of Communications or, something on the business side. And he's on there on the broadcast talking about what a great young man and what a tough thing that was for him. Oh, how hard it must have been. Like, dude, it was not difficult. Like, yes, it sucks to own something, but it was like my son. I have a 10-year-old who, if I catch him doing something, doesn't like to admit it, and then he'll give me the kind of the standard responses. And I think he could have done a better job with that. So don't give me that. But again, we've seen that they were going to do this. I did not want them to make him someone else's problem in terms of just cutting him loose, flat out just jettisoning him, and just leaving him to float. At the same time, having him not on the roster and not part of the team does not mean they cannot help him. It does not mean they cannot support him and get him the help, get him with a treatment program to help him through this, which, again, we still don't know the efficacy of. We don't know exactly what he's doing, only he does. And even that, we heard just these very rote, memorized phrases. So I'm not happy about it. I don't like the idea, and I'm fully, I'm convinced they need to keep him down at Iowa until he absolutely has proven, and I don't know what that takes. I don't know what that means. Does that mean he's batting 400 and he's hitting home runs everywhere, and everybody forgives whatever else happens because he's just mashing? Does that mean he has kind of owned some things and spoken with a bit more veracity about what is going on? I don't know. I really don't. Does it mean somebody got hurt and so now they can open up a roster spot and you don't have to move somebody around? Maybe it's that. But he's got 3 options left. 3 minor league options. So as soon as he's activated, they can option him to AAA and keep him there. So it's no longer a rehab assignment, which I think they really need to do at this point. There's no sense. And maybe by the time May 3rd rolls around, things are totally different. And the Cubs have gone back in the crapper and they don't look good. But they look really good right now. Descalso's knocking the crap out of the ball. Bodie's knocking the crap out of the ball, running all over the place. David Bodie, who's one of the fastest players on the team, lo and behold, one of the fastest second basemen in the league. Article on CubsInsider.com by Brendan Miller. Go check it out. And so to kind of mess with that, and not only that, right? It's not just about what he brings or does not bring to the field, to the plate. A lot of it is, until Hoyer talked about that today, we've really kind of largely been able to forget about Addison Russell as a part of the team. And, it's inevitable that something was going to happen, like as of May 3rd. Like, you can't just not have him there. You can't just not talk about him. But because he's away at extended spring training, because there's no coverage down there, because nobody cares, there's not playing televised games, nobody's paid attention. And let me wet my whistle. So now we're going to get to this situation where once he's able to start the rehab, starting the closer and closer he gets, and once May 3rd takes place, if he comes up, and let's say he's got to displace someone who's playing well, who's contributing to the team, and then he's pushing out playing time from at least one other person, if not two or three, who are contributing to the team. And all those guys now have to go back all over again and answer these questions about what's it like to have him back? How's he doing? Has he changed? Or these things? That's going to mess with everybody all over again. So we already got past this whole urgency thing. And they already had to walk that back. And the players had to all address it like every damn day. Right? They lose, urgency. What's up with the urgency? And now it's going to turn into, Russell. And so, he's going to be bombarded by it. But so are all of his teammates. They're all going to be hit with it after they'd already kind of gone through that. And that is something that the team, the management, has put on them. That wouldn't, Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo didn't say, hey guys, come talk to me about Addison Russell. Hey guys, we made the decision to keep him. Come talk to us about it. No, this is something that from the start, the front office, who's made a lot of good decisions, and maybe this turns out to be the best thing in the world. I don't know. But to have this stuff come up, again, they are putting themselves in it, and to bring him up immediately on May 3rd, throw him right back in there, I think would be an enormous mistake at this point, as I look at it now on April 18th. So, again, we're still talking 2 weeks from now. A lot of stuff can change in 2 weeks. I don't know. But at the end of the day, and I think this is the important part, right? And I'm not saying that, because this is not true. Like, Addison Russell does not deserve a second chance to play Major League Baseball. That's not the way these things work, right? You don't deserve... A teacher who molests a child does not deserve a second chance to teach, okay? If I drive drunk and kill someone, I don't deserve a second chance to get my driver's license back and to be out in society. These are extreme examples, but just because you can hit a baseball really well, and I literally had this conversation with someone who believed he was like, I don't care. If you hit a home run and a walk-off home run for my team, and you get drunk after the game and kill somebody on your drive, I don't care, because you helped my team win, and that's all I care about is what happens between the lines. Whatever you do outside of there, you go be a serial killer. Don't care. Just win ball games. Some people believe that. I think that's despicable, but again, I know there are plenty of Cubs fans who don't care, right? There's that, what happens in your home stays in your home, and I don't need to know about it, which is foolish, but, again, we'll leave that alone. I do sincerely hope that whatever Russell's doing as far as the recovery or his treatment is working. I do sincerely hope he becomes a better human being and a better father and a better husband or boyfriend or son or uncle, whatever, because doing that is it's better for everyone. It's better for him. It's better for his family. It's better for society in general. But that doesn't mean he needs to do that. And people say, oh, well, he needs to be able to play so he can make money for his kids. Like, hi, if you get a couple $1 million as a signing bonus, you've made a couple $1 million. Like, that's more than most people make. He should be able to support his children on that, okay? I am not saying he does not deserve to have gainful employment in some field. He certainly can. He can go work the drive-thru at Wendy's if he wants to. He can start up a baseball academy and teach kids how to play. And I'm not even saying, again, that he needs to be just cut loose immediately. We're far too past that bridge. But I'm just saying, don't bring up silly arguments like that, right? If we're going to talk about these things, let's talk about them legitimately. And what people deserve and what the reality is are often two different things. So if he's to deserve a shot, the only way he deserves it is if he earns it. What the Cubs think that means, and what I think that means, what you think that means, probably all very different things. Again, at the end of the day, my biggest concern is for him as a human being and for those people with whom he interacts. Because if he doesn't become a better person from what he has been previously, that's going to leave a lot more people hurt in the future. It's already hurt a lot of people. It's only going to continue to do that. Now, if he's righted himself, if he's honestly acknowledged the things he's done wrong and acknowledged he wants to get better and is better, good, awesome, great for him. But that also doesn't mean that, like, all of a sudden I just welcome him back with open arms, because I don't know that, and I'm very standoffish about having this guy on the Cubs right now. But again, maybe that changes, and maybe he goes back, and maybe, some of the stuff we've seen makes him better all the way around. Maybe he was harboring all this stuff and becoming better, and I don't know, I can't make a good analogy with it, but but maybe he betters himself and is able to be a better person and let go of some of these anger and control issues that he has, and that helps him to just be a better teammate and everything else. I don't know, but I don't want to look at it and say like, oh, well, I hope he follows the protocol and does all this, because then he'll be a good player and a contributor for the Cubs, and yay, as long as he's good for the Cubs, I don't care. I don't like that. But again, I do want him to be a better person, just for the good of everyone involved. So I've repeated that too many times. But I did want to get that out there. Again, it would behoove the Cubs to keep him at Iowa for a while. Because I think also, like, the environment that he's in right now is not real. There's zero pressure down in Arizona, right? Extended spring training. That's nothing. Even being in Iowa, right? That's a big step up in terms of pressure and performance, but that's nothing compared to Chicago. And if we're talking about someone who's got anger issues, who's got control issues, I mean, any kind of psychological stuff that's going on, being in that fishbowl as a Chicago athlete, significantly different from the other situations that he's in. And so to have to, again, to have the wherewithal psychologically, emotionally, to be able to handle that is going to be really, really important. And only he knows that, or the people who are working with him know that. And even then, again, it's a tough situation all the way around. And I'm not trying to commiserate with the Cubs and be like, oh, boy, it's tough for them. That's not really the case at all. It's tough for a lot of people. But they have also put themselves in this position, right? This is definitely not a woe is Theo Epstein. They've made the choice actively to continue to employ Russell. And so now it's incumbent upon them to make absolutely certain that there's no stepping out of line, that things are legitimate with what he's doing. Because if not, and if anything else is to occur, now it's completely on their watch. Because they knew stuff was going on back before the 2016 season. They knew stuff was going on with him. And they knew of some of the dalliances that he had, of his love of the nightlife, of his love to be out a little bit too late, to be maybe consuming some adult beverages and not wearing condoms and making babies, right? They knew about that stuff years before the domestic violence things came out. I am not saying they knew about the worst of this, about the DV stuff. I don't believe they did. That's generally the way this stuff goes on for a long time. These, abusers and victimizers hide that stuff really well in most cases. What I am saying is that they were very well aware of some things that they wanted him to mature in a big way. And everybody the whole time was spinning this narrative about this guy who was mature beyond his years, who had such respect for women. And so a lot of people were complicit in this. So at this time, that's all gone. That's out the window, right? The ability to look the other way and to say, oh, he's just young. He forgot to wear the condom. He didn't know how to put it on, right? Like, he's just young and dumb. That's done, because we know that now. We know the truth. We know the ugliness. And in the face of that, the Cubs made the decision to keep him around. So now they own it. They own whatever happens on their watch. And that's more than like the urgency stuff. That's more than telling Joe Madden that Meatloaf isn't good enough. That's more than saying they need more out of Yu Darvish or whatever it might be. Okay? So let's just remember that. And I think because of that, because they know they can't F this up and walk away clean from it, they need to keep him down at Iowa for a while. And that goes beyond just him. That goes out to everybody who surrounds him, who's in his circle of friends and acquaintances. That goes out to his teammates. That goes out to, again, those people with whom he'll interact in the future. And so just be really smart, again, to put as much time between now and that decision to roster him in Chicago as they possibly can to make absolutely certain that everything is set the way it is. So I know I went in on that like a little harder than I intended. Honestly, I did mean to leave this a little bit closer. I got a little passionate there. And you may not agree with me, right? You may think I'm an idiot. You may think I was too soft on him. Maybe you think I'm a horrible person and I went in too hard on him. I don't know. Maybe I'm somewhere in the middle. But again, I just want to see this thing. I don't even want to say I want to see it come to a conclusion, because there's certain things like I kind of just want to see it strung out forever and keep on going out. And it's tough to say, like, I want to see him traded, because then it's like, okay, well, but are the Cubs benefiting then from, is this like like a house flipping show where they kept him on the cheap and rehabbed him and then flipped him to somebody once his image was a little bit improved. That feels a little oogie too, right? I don't know. I really don't. No idea what the answer is. So I guess I'm just gonna enjoy this beer. But please do, check out the pod. I really do appreciate that. Appreciate both of you viewing this and checking it out. I'm working on getting a little, like a cartoon image made up, so it looks cool when I put this on there. And we'll kind of catch you around the way. But again, I appreciate you sitting here. What I like is I can talk to somebody and I can share this stuff. And this is what I keep saying. I can have a beer with you, but I don't have to listen to you talk. And you don't have to listen to me either. But I get to hear myself talk, which is my favorite thing. And you don't get to do anything about it, which is awesome because my son takes everything I say as an invitation to debate me on it or to tell me why something else might actually be true. You don't get to do that. So I appreciate you keeping your mouth shut during this entire time. Thank you very much. And until next time, this is Evan Altman, Inside Corner. Peace.